Okay, so wrapping it up this week, part three, we have to, as managers and leaders, acquire the team, right? So, staffing is always going to be a challenge, right? So, when the manager is able to influence or direct these staff assignments, and a lot of times we can't, we try to consider things like previous experience, personal interests and characteristics, availability, and even competencies and proficiencies. It is shown as a fact that previous experience or previous comments from other companies, right? So reviewing the references is the most effective way to determining somebody's work in the next job. So make sure you check your references. But you want to acquire the project team. Develop your own negotiating skills. I always recommend a book called Getting to Yes, right? Which is about negotiating skills. And so you would negotiate with other managers, perhaps, within your organization or leaders. So also, you can procure your team by contract, and sometimes they're just assigned. Now, when we acquire the team, I mentioned negotiation becomes a key tool. So, for example, if a functional manager might be rewarded based on staff utilization, right? How are they using their staff efficiently? And this might cause them to try and give you somebody that's less than adequate, right? And so you want to have negotiations. You want to get to know people, talk to them, be part of their life in the organization so that you know their strengths and weaknesses. And then I would encourage managers to develop multi-criteria decision analysis, right? What are your decision criteria for staff? Is it availability? Is it cost or experience? Is it their own ability or knowledge? What about their skills and attitude and international factors that may apply based on the business you're working in? So consider these items plus the ones on the slide when acquiring your team. And then you'll want to, of course, make your project staff assignments, right? So the appropriate staff are assigned, full or part-time, for the role that's needed. And then we want to apply these people to a resource calendar. So we want to make sure the resource calendar takes out the national holidays or the international holidays if you're doing a global project or work stream. You want to make sure you take out company holidays. You want to block for maybe union requirements like can't work weekends, can't work nights, right? And then you want to block for the individual's own needs, plan days off, etc. And then you want to make sure that the activities you want them working on are available, right? So there's a lot that can be built into a resource calendar to make sure you're utilizing your staff appropriately. And then, of course, you'll make updates and share or manage that with the HR. A lot of times we call it a resource management plan, which would include what skills they have, what training they need, what training we want them to get on top of that, etc. Now, the last piece to discuss is manager competencies, right? And so the primary responsibility of a manager is to manage stakeholders and their expectations. And stakeholders, frankly, are everybody. It's any individual, group, or organization that is impacted or can impact your work functions, right? Either positively or negatively. And so stakeholders, frankly, are everybody to various degrees. I differentiate them. Everybody's a stakeholder, but then some are key stakeholders, which are decision makers, right? And so the primary role of a manager is to manage those stakeholder expectations. And a more apt title for us might be expectations manager, right? In many contexts, success is defined by meeting their expectations. Sometimes that's on schedule, on budget, on scope. Sometimes that's develop the corporate strategy or add to that, right? Whatever a success is defined as. And we want to look then beyond those objectives to create further options for success for ourselves. And then I would say managers that view their jobs in a kind of negative way are going to set a negative expectation. That's why I think it becomes hard for them to operate. So everything you do or don't do really creates expectations. Think about that. Expectation management is key to your skills in management, whether it's a project manager or otherwise. They are the same. They're synonymous to me. Okay, there are tools for managing the expectations. So I could use a charter to manage the expectations. I could use the scope statement that I've developed, a responsibility assignment matrix where I list the functions that need to be done down the left side and the people running them on the top and who is responsible for that effort. A subset of a RAM or a responsibility assignment matrix is more familiar in the workspace, and it's known as a RACI, right? And it's a chart with the activities down the left, the participants across the top, and you would label each as R, A, C, or I, which is responsible, accountable, someone you consult with, which is the C, or I, which is inform, RACI. And there are variations of RACI. It's always called RACI, but I've known some companies to add S to that for support, but it's still known as a RACI. So these are various tools that you can use. We talked about the benefits management plan or the business case before. Another tool you can use to develop or manage expectations. Standard operating procedures or SOPs can be used. Even the change control process, if we work in an IT organization, is a tool for managing expectations, right? Another one under team norms at the bottom right of the slide, we could develop a team charter, which is an agreement that the team makes when working with each other on how will we handle conflict and what can I expect when I send an email? A reply within 24 hours and a solution within 2 days, right? That sort of thing. Those are things you could document with the team on a team charter and have everybody sign it to manage expectations. And then, of course, team member competencies are things that we want to develop. We want to make even a checklist of team member competencies, right? And consider their own professional competence, the methodology for that competence, what is their social aptitude or competence, and even personal, right? Conscious use of professional and methodological expertise in the social environment, right? What's their networking of these competencies, that sort of thing. So you see on the left the competencies, in the middle the contents, and the objectives on the right. I think it's fairly self-explanatory, but worth a pause and a read. That really wraps it up for this week. Don't forget the videos in the additional materials and the assignments / discussions as assigned. Okay, thanks guys.